This week on Two Wheels Better. As the weather improves, we look at the joys of touring. Paul rides a Honda Goldwing. What to do if you get knocked off your bike? How do you get compensation? Wayne looks exhausted. And Samantha Kenny finds out what's in the minds of the lady bikers from Cheshire. But first, a visit to a famous restoration workshop in the Midlands.
Welcome to Two Wheels Better. We're in Coventry again at URI Hancock's workshop, and down on the floor here is perhaps an example of the way Huey gets his bikes in the first place. This is a 1956 Tiger 100, and just look at the state of that. It looks all pretty well complete, but it's nothing to be proud of as it stands. But let's just see what it should look like. Huey, is those the photographs of a predecessor?
Yes, this is a 1956 Tiger 100 that I restored some time ago for a gentleman, and this is exactly what that pile of stuff on the floor's got to look like.
Well, Huey, these pictures here, they're certainly a credit to you. But I understand you've also done 1 or 2 videos giving away your trade secrets.
Not exactly.
Well, we've got one running over here. Perhaps you could just tell us the background to this. Why on earth did you start producing videos?
Basically, it was John, my son-in-law, who... he's the painter, he's the artistic one of the two of us. He does all the painting and lining. John was worried that if I dropped off the perch, there would be no one to build his engine for him. So he said, well, if we video you doing an engine, I'll be able to build my own engine when you've gone. Oh, a cheerful thought. So then we realised the potential of this thing, and one thing led to another, and consequently we came out with the 2 videos. It's taken a lot of time, a lot of money and a lot of hard work. We've just now completed a 3rd video which deals with all aspects of servicing, which will help people that own Triumphs from 1946 up to 1970 carry out all their own tasks on the bikes properly, the way we used to do them at Meriden.
And I'm sure, well, not only am I sure, I know that these have gone down very well with people. And you've had positive feedback on these?
Oh yes, I don't think we've had a bad report on any of them. Some of the American magazines were a little dubious about my techniques on the first video with regard to wielding a big hammer, but it's like I said to them at the time. Apart from standing there and swearing at the pistons until they jump out on their own, there's nothing else you can do. Some wag in an American magazine said, well, gee, fella, you should have pressed them out with a hydraulic press. But of course that's what every young man's got in his garden shed, isn't it? You know. And when the bores are seized solid to the piston rings and you can't move the pistons, you can't stand there and look at them and wish them to jump out, so you've got to do something positive.
Again, Huey, I know of old when I was a lad, and it seems a long time ago, but it's great being here and sort of all these smells coming back to me. But the techniques, often I've reread and read paragraphs after paragraph thinking, why won't this come apart? Isn't this the secret of a video, that you can put that extra little slant on things? Yes,
it is. So many people buy manuals and it says in one section, remove 3 screws and pull the cover off. Well, what happens if the cover doesn't come off? At least with my video, they can see what happens and, if necessary, stop it and rewind it and go through it again. It's exactly the way we used to do it in the repair shop at Meriden.
The other thing I noticed when you were warming up a crankcase half to fit the main bearings, or one of the main bearings, and I remember that as well, in the gas oven. It won't be long, Mum, only half an hour, and she perhaps wanted the Sunday joint to be up the go, and got all these smells of oil and gunk and whatnot. But do you touch on that in your video? You don't just say heat to so many degrees centigrade, you say bung it in the oven at regular 60?
I think one or two jokes were passed about regular marks, but usually, because there are so many different models of the 650 unit, we couldn't really specify every nuance of the stripping and rebuilding. So what we did was we said, okay, warm the crankcase up, not to a specific temperature, but warm it until you spit on it and your spit bounces off. This sort of thing that ordinary people can understand. we don't want to get into physics or anything like that.
And you don't want a puddle of aluminium on the bottom of the oven?
No, that's not advisable, but you'd have to go some to melt a crankcase. You would indeed.
You know, one of the most interesting and exciting aspects of motorcycling is touring. You never know what you're going to meet along the way, but you need a bike to do it on. Now, a touring bike with a full set of luggage and as much equipment as you want on the bike, you're going to get no change from 10 grand or more. But consider this, you can have a bike that's big enough to take you anywhere in extreme comfort with more bells, buttons and gadgets than you could ever possibly require for an awful lot less. This is one of them. Honda's GL 1200 Goldwing. This is the Aspencade version with just about every possible conceivable extra. And this one is a 1984 A-registered version. And one of these can be yours for around £5,000. So what do you get for your £5,000? Well, the answer is, if you buy one of these, an awful lot. You get a 1200cc flat 4-cylinder water-cooled engine, which is good for well in excess of 100,000 miles, very low revving and super smooth. You get more boxes, panniers and compartments than you could possibly wish for. This one's actually got armrests so the passenger can fall asleep on the back. There's a driver's backrest to save you back on the long journeys. This top box will actually take 2 full face helmets. It's full of my junk at the moment, but there's a little vanity mirror in there so you can do your hair before you walk into your pub. And around the side we've got panniers, both sides matching panniers, all colour coded. The panniers themselves are absolutely huge. The lid comes off like that, and again you get just as much stuff in there than you're ever going to need for that touring holiday. Coming round to the front, to the actual inside of the fairing, we've got a cubby hole on here, if I can find the right key. It's actually a lockable glove box. That undoes with the key, that lifts off and you've got a compartment there. Same on the other side. That's not actually lockable on that, it's just press studs on, but you can keep your little bits and pieces and some loose change in there for when you're going through your toll gates. Inside here, where the petrol tank would normally be, is actually a compartment, because the petrol tank on this machine is below the seat. In fact, you can actually see the filler cap there. The petrol tank goes underneath there, which helps to keep the weight low. One comment people say when they see these bikes is they say, no, can't handle, doesn't drive very well, looks like a bus, top heavy. Don't believe a word of it until you've ridden one. The weight is very low, with it being a flat configuration, the engine, all the weight is very low, and they do actually handle a lot better than they look like they should. So there's your petrol tank. In here we've got another compartment which is full of my tapes which I've been listening to for the last month. All sorts of various bits and pieces, I won't bore you with the details of those. And the engine itself, it doesn't sound, it's not a rip-roaring sound, it's quite a smooth engine. Let's just see if it'll should fire up first time. Oh, I should point out, if they don't hear you coming because of the engine, they'll certainly hear you coming with that onboard stereo radio cassette, so you can cruise along all day to your favourite tunes. And there you go, super smooth. A little bit of oil coming, a little bit of smoke coming out the back. That's because it's been on the side stand, and they do tend to smoke a tiny bit when they start up from cold. But you're not going to upset anybody in the morning starting that up on your drive. Well, I've had a quick break now, time to go and do a little bit more. But before I go, I'm just wondering, what colour lamps shall I have showing at the front this time? Shall I have the little amber lamps, or shall I have the yellow fog lamps? I don't think so, it's not foggy. So we have the white spot lamps, they look quite good. And at the back, well, I think we'll have the bottom light bar on this time, I think. Tremendous selection of lights on this thing. Also, something else that we've got down here that we've not played with yet is the air suspension unit. Press that for, that's the front, that's the rear, so you press that for the front, and on the dashboard there, on the LCD display, you see it comes up front, and it's a little bit hard at the front, so we'll just press the bottom release button, drop a bit of air up, and one bar disappears, a little bit less pressure. In the back, well, we're set round about medium, but I fancy throwing it around a little bit so we can press that, increase the pressure, and just stiffen the back suspension up slightly. There we go, that should do the trick. So there we go, lots of things to play with. Oh, something else on this side that we've been playing with all the way along the road is this auto volume. What that does, that cuts in at around about 40 odd 50 miles per hour, and that increases the volume of the radio cassette as your speed increases. So you don't need to lean forward and turn it up to compensate for the wind noise. It's all automatic. They've thought of everything. The problem with driving one of these is there's not enough hours in the day. You could sit on this for ages and ages. So comfy, you won't get cold, you're well protected, and there's enough bells, buttons and gadgets to play with to keep you busy all day long. And you can listen to your music while you do it. So if you can't afford a brand new Tourer, £10,000, £11,000, whatever it may cost, this one, 1984, it's a good alternative, around about £5,000, well worth considering.
Tired, shattered, absolutely cream crackered actually. Well, the truth is I'm exhausted. And that's just a pun. To get onto the subject of these things, exhaust cans, full exhaust systems, lookalikes just like the originals. There's absolutely loads of different exhaust things that you can put on the bike. Very, very expensive ones and particularly cheap ones. All I'm doing now is suggesting that you keep your eyes open for the future programmes, because we're going to go into details about the BSI approvals, non-BSI approvals, noisy ones that people seem to demand all the time, and we're even going to go to a factory and show you how they bend the pipes and so on and so forth. Different materials, aluminium, carbon fibre, and so on and so forth, you know. How they bend them, that's how they do it, you know, they just bend it over the knee and so on and so on. No, there's a lot of interesting information about it. As I say, we'll refer to it later on.
So Wayne, hang on a minute.
Mate, how are you doing?
Not so bad. Very expensive, some of these. Very smart, but you can't come in and spend a fortune, and what's it going to sound like? How do you know what it's going to sound like until you put it on your bike?
We do a demonstration.
Do you?
Oh yeah.
Any chance? Quick demo.
Not a problem. Come a little bit closer so you can hear it.
Yeah.
See?
Very
Like
good.
that?
9:30, I think.
There's no hope at all, is there? Absolutely not.
We're outside the Chetwood Arms in Whitley in Cheshire, just up the road from Warrington, and I'm here to meet the Northern Harley Club. Now, personally, I'd give my right arm for a Harley, but then I wouldn't be able to ride it, so there wouldn't really be much point in that. But there are people who say they don't like Harleys. Personally, I think they're like people who say they don't like sex. There aren't very many of them, and quite frankly, I think they're lying. But what is it about Harleys that makes them so sexy? Is it the design? Is it the name? Is it the quality of the bike? Or are they just in it for the pose? Well, I always say, if you want a straightforward answer, ask a woman, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk to the female riding contingent of the Northern Harley Club. Hello, Janet, I'll speak to you first. Now, you're the secretary of the Northern Harley Club. So what is it about Harleys? You should know, you're the expert. What is it about Harleys that makes them so great?
I think it's mainly the camaraderie. With a lot of Harleys, everybody's together. Everybody enjoys riding the Harleys. They have their own idea. They're not interested in dashing off here and there. They have nice leisurely rides, cruising along, even in the cold weather. Harleys are usually associated with sun and sunglasses, but we have really good times together, and I think it's the people that own Harleys make Harleys special.
So is it sort of an image thing, really?
With some people it is. It can be an image, but you can wear whatever you want. There's loads of different kinds of Harleys. The Sportsters to right through to the Heritage Softails. There's so many different kinds. It just makes it, everybody has a different view really on Harleys.
But you've been riding for a long time now, haven't you? When did you first get into bikes?
First got into bikes when I was about 17, 18. and then I had my own Honda SS50. Then years after that I rode on the back of my husband for many, many years. When he decided to get a Harley, I didn't particularly like the look at the size of the seat on the back, so I decided I'd take my test and I'd get my own. And I took my test 3 years ago, and I've really enjoyed it ever since. We joined the club, and you find that you're not out on your own. There's loads of places to go, and we do quite a lot of different things most weekends, and I really enjoy it.
But a lot of people say like they're not as powerful or, you know, whatever. Do you think that's the case?
Some Harleys aren't as powerful, and Harleys aren't really made for racing round corners on. They're a leisurely bike. You can get the ones that are. I mean, there's quite a few that'll go fairly quick in the club. But the enjoyment is that you see in the countryside, you're enjoying yourself. You're not just out for a blast round the lanes.
Now, I'm quite interested to know why they actually let you in the Harley Club, Julie, because you've got a Yamaha.
I have, yes.
Defend yourself.
What can I say? It's because I'm such a nice person, I think.
That's why they let you in.
Yes.
Your hubby's got a Harley, though.
He has, yes. Yeah. I just love the whole scene. For me, it's very much the posing, I think.
Yeah.
I'm honest.
Yeah.
I do like the posing aspects.
So what have you got to say in defence of the bike that you ride amongst all these Harley riders?
Right, okay. I only passed my tests about 2 years ago, so I thought start on something smallish. So I bought the Yami 535, it's a Virago. I have had it customised, so it does look a little bit different. And I just love it. I've really got attached to it, and I really love it. Having said that, I am getting pushed more and more towards
I think you ought to explain why.
Do I have to?
Yes, absolutely.
On the way here today, came via the motorway, and the bike just started coughing and spluttering, and then it cut out on me. I got it going again, a few hundred yards later, the same thing, and this went on to, we got off the slipway of the motorway, and it just carried on like that from there. So as it happened, we were near to Hayley Harley's, which is quite convenient.
So she's dumped the bike on you, basically.
And that's where it is at the moment. So right. Back on the back of the Harley, and hence no bike.
It's not just Harleys. I enjoy motorcycling for what it is.
You've been riding for years though, haven't you, as well? And how many bikes have you had, different types of bikes?
Oh dear. Well, I started on a Suzuki 50 step through and progressed to BSA Golden Flash and Francis Barnett, and
that's like the one in Heartbeat.
That's correct, yeah. It's very similar to Nick Rowan's.
Does it make you feel nostalgic when you see it?
Yeah, quite a bit. I wish I hadn't sold it now, actually, but, you know.
Yeah. And what about, I mean, we've got some pictures here with your bike with your sidecar.
Yeah, that is actually my husband's. He bought that crash damaged, and he totally stripped it and rebuilt it himself. We do a lot of camping in the summer.
Which one of you gets to sit in there?
I do sometimes, but he does let me have a go now and again. Yeah. He does trust me.
So with all your experience of all the different sorts of bikes, what is it about Harleys? Because you obviously love them.
I don't know really. It's like Janet said, it's, you know, we're all friends. You know, it's a good scene to get into, really. I mean, I've been in the BMW scene when I used to run my BM, and I certainly would prefer this scene to theirs.
What's different?
Just don't know. There's some sort of magic there. It's really good. You'd only know it if you had one.
Put your hand on your heart and tell me it's not for the pose. I mean, like when like all 52 of you go out, you know, or whatever, and you pull into some village somewhere or some town somewhere, does everyone stop and look?
Well, certainly, yeah.
And you get a bit of a buzz out of that.
Well, you do as well, especially when you take your helmet off and you reveal that you are a woman. You know.
You can get lots of accessories for Harleys. You can spend all your money on buying bits and pieces because they don't come cheap.
Yeah, you've done a lot of things to your bike, haven't you? You've made
a lot of things on it.
What have you done?
Bought it. Well, I've had a different set of exhausts, backrest, rack, different mirrors. I've had a paint job on it.
Those mirrors are pretty groovy. I like those mirrors. They're great.
I've had a new seat, saddlebags. You can go on endlessly adding, because there's always something else that you'll see when you go in the Harley shops that you want to put on your bike. You just have to save up your money for it.
So we've got a couple of pictures of you here with your bike and with various different people at meetings. Now, who are you with here?
That's with Bill Davidson of Harley Davidson. It's at a hog rally in Southport about 3 years ago. And it was really good to meet him.
One of your heroes then?
You could say so.
And what's here? What's happening here? Or is it one of your days out?
This is on a ride with the club, and it was a weekend we went on in the Lake District last summer. It was a really, really good day.
Is this, are these all the members of the club?
These are all members of the club. This is at Valham Lodge on Hadrian's Wall. It was a weekend we had rode up to a shop in Morpeth and then carried on for the full weekend.
All the days we have are fantastic. Even if it's raining, we have such a good time. The people in the club, I don't think you can meet nicer people anywhere. We really do get on so well. It's like a big family, and I think that's one of the main things I like. I'd never join another club. This is a club for me, regardless of what bike I've got, as long as I'm accepted.
Have you travelled around, you know, different countries and things like that? Have you been around Europe or anything?
Went to Holland last year. We actually had a tour of the Zodiac factory that supply us with the custom accessories. That was really interesting. Basically, I like to go to Southern Ireland. I love the crack. Yeah. The lads are very friendly. You know, I love it over there.
And the roads are a bit quieter, I suppose.
Well, they are. Yeah, definitely.
Well, I noticed that before we started talking, we did actually send the guys off to the bar, and we've only actually got one drink on the table, so I think they're probably drinking all of ours. Anyway, we'll have to go and find out where our drinks have gone. Don't forget that Men & Motors covers the whole country, and Two Wheels Better could be coming to see you and your bike very soon. See you soon. Now, is she going to have to come and pick her bike up?
As we all know, motorcycling is a fun thing, but it does have its downsides now and again. You could just have an accident. But I've got with me David Hargraves of the Accident Compensation Helpline, and he's here to tell me all about it. David, tell me about your scheme, this wondrous scheme of yours.
Well, quite simply, we're here to help the victims of a motorcycle accident, or in fact any other type of accident, claim compensation. That compensation can be for anything from the damage that's actually been done to the vehicle down to all the wages that they're going to lose and any other treatment or that they actually may need.
So how does this actually work? They phone a free phone telephone number? We'll start with, what's the telephone number?
Well, the telephone number is very simple. It's 0800 10 1000. They'll get through to a person who can actually take their details, and if it looks like they've actually got a claim, their details will be passed on to a specialist. That specialist will be a personal injury solicitor who specialises in motorcycle claims. Quite typically, most of those people are also bikers, so they know all the problems that bikers have.